But if you want to take the time and make it look a little bit more professional like I've got here, there's a few extra steps you can take. Now, what I did first was I took all my nails out, and I took the dowels out, and I sanded everything down. I made sure all my line marks from my pencil was gone. I softened all the edges around here. I softened the corners so that way there's no sharp corners. And I just really smoothed it all down and made it nice and kind of... And then from there, what I did is I took a nice stain and a urethane coating. Now I made sure I used a urethane coating that was rated for outdoors, so that way it repels water and moisture, so that way the wood doesn't have any chance of warping, cracking, or anything like that later down the road. I want this to be a tool that lasts me a long time. And you're just going to stain it just like anything else. You're going to use a chip brush or a rag and just do layer by layer and build up that stain. And as you go, if it gets a little too dark, you wipe away the excess, and you really want to make sure you let the stain fully cure into the wood overnight before you clear coat it. Because if you try to trap in that stain before it's fully cured, there's going to be a lot of things in there that are going to make your clear coat not cure. You're going to come back 3 or 4 days later, and your clear coat is still going to be tacky because it's absorbing things from the stain that hadn't had a chance to evaporate off yet. So once I did that and I had everything stained and sealed, my 20 nails that I had nailed into the board, and I used a pair of bolt cutters and cut off each one of the heads, then went over to a tiny tabletop grinder and just kind of grind down the heads so they were all nice and even, got rid of the sharp points. And what I did that way is I just kind of did a head-on into the grinder till it was flat, and I kind of turned the nail off to a 45-degree angle and just kind of beveled the edge there so that way it was nice and rounded top. And that's why we have these nice kind of pin-looking rods here instead of nails. Once we did that, you just go ahead and pound it back in. For the cut plate, what I did was I got a piece of copper piping that I just had laying around. I wanted to get like a nice piece of little steel or something like that and put it there, but I didn't have any of that laying around the shop. So I found some old copper piping, cut a section of it that was to the length of these rods, made it straight, hammered it out on the anvil, and really took my time and just made sure I hammered it really nice and flat. Took it over to the drill press, drilled 2 holes on each side, and then ground down the holes so that way they were nice and smooth, because the drill press had a tendency to leave some burrs. Once I'd done that, just came over to my board, lined it up in the middle, and go ahead and secured it with 2 little tiny wood screws. And the reason that we put that there is because later in the next module, when I show you how to use these jigs, we're actually going to have to cut strings down the middle here constantly. And what you'll see sometimes if you don't, you'll see some guys online have these boards and they've been using them for years, and there's just going to be a big old hole right down the middle from where they've been cutting for years. So if you put this metal plate here, it's going to save the board and it's going to make sure the tool lasts a long time. All right, so we've got our board done. We've got it, all our alternative ways of making it look like a nice professional archer's tool. Now we're going to go on to Module 4, and we're going to show you actually how to make it. We're going to make a Flemish string for our Project 2. So we have a bowstring for our takedown bow.